Got a Cedar Creek Silverback. Alright, let's go see what we got up here on this monster. Da-da-da-da-da-dee. We'll go up these jazzy stairs. Oh, stereo works. So one of the things we do when we first get them in, you can see we put blankets all over everything. We also put blankets down here on the floor. We cover everything. We protect everything. And then what that is, an inspection list. We check everything out, make sure it works. And we want to protect your coach. Alright, this monster. Ooh-wee, this is your typical RV roof. So, these, they call vents. They're not vent. They're probably an access thing, but they do, like if you go to order them, if it pops off, you can replace that cover. But it's not a vent. It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. In order for that to work, you have to have, let's see here. We'll do a little demonstration here. If you can see what I'm doing. This is your house. You have a ridge vent here. And then you'll have a soffit vent right here, and that's how the air will flow. You need a lower draw. If you don't have a lower draw, it doesn't work. If you were to block this off, it will never vent, even though that's open. It won't vent. So that's why you'll see you'll have a bunch of soffit panels up underneath here, and they'll have little perforation holes in them, or some of them will have, you know, there's different types of vents, but basically, you know, some of them could be metal, some could be little round plugs, but they all work same principle, meaning that they let the air in to escape. That's a cycle. That's how it works. There isn't a lower draw, so you're not going to be able to get it. So it's useless, you know. It doesn't do anything. The most you can do with that is if you want to try to run a wire or something, you could probably take it apart and fish a wire through it, but it doesn't do anything at all. So, let's see. Like I say, your typical RV roof. You see, obviously, you got the air conditioner. Somebody's already tried to put some more on, and I joke and I say the only one's putting more on is a moron. There's something wrong with that system. The RV industry, they make over $1 billion a year selling maintenance products, coatings, all sorts of stuff, right? Conditioners. Oh yeah. So the problem with the air conditioner right here is when you get all this dirt and debris that comes down. This one looks like it has a little slope to the back. Yeah, it's got a little slope coming down this way. All that dirt and debris will get into that gasket. When it dries that gasket out, it can it'll dry it out, rot it out, basically, because it'll get up underneath the gasket, and then the water will get into the roof deck here. And when the roof deck soaks it up, it'll go to the insulation. It'll go to the adjacent framing, if it's wood framing. Then it'll soak down into the ceiling panel. Ceiling panel will soak up what it can. If you see a leak like that, you've already got damage up on your roof, or if you see these sunk down. So we'll see. I don't know what year this is. It doesn't look like it's in the worst shape that I've ever seen some other ones that come in, but got some solar prep over there, and you can tell it just keeps, you know, people have been going around, and you know, it's just not the way you do a roof system. It doesn't work that way. Same thing here. Keep going around, keep going around. We're going to solve all this. We're going to put curbs up on here. So here's another vent. You got a plumbing. Same thing with the air conditioner sitting down. We're gonna elevate all that. So I don't know what's causing all this right here, but looks like it may be a glue issue or something. Let's see. Or it could be where they join the plywood together. Or if we should plywood. That's not plywood. That's funny. They don't use plywood. They use scrappy OSB. That's what it is. So, and the glue didn't take over there. They didn't get it down right. So, all they did was put down this screen, this drywall mesh. That's all they did. That's how they usually do them. So, like I said, we'll be taking this apart here. I don't know exactly why it came in. You know, obviously the customer wants a roof on it, but I didn't know if there was some underlying damage. If there was, I was going to show you. But we'll be getting rid of all of this nonsense in here, all this slobberage. We get rid of all of that. So, and these really should be glued down. They don't glue these down. They just pop a couple staples in there. So you may see some popping up from time to time. That's why I don't think there's You know, you'll see them popping up. But anyhow, that's our Cedar Creek. So we shall see what we get under here when we rip this thing off. The awnings look okay. Look like very much sealant up in here. So much easier to work on these things when you have some scaffolds and you can walk all the way around. So, all right, awesome. Well, that's our see it right here. So we're going to glue that down. Looks like that radius is a little different too. See how it comes up? It's kind of coming up this way. Should have pulled down. It's got a little bit of, so that'll just prevent some water from draining off. You know, all of it. I mean, it'll come down, you get a little puddle right here. So it really should have been pushed down more. We'll check it out when we go to do it. I have a jig anyways that I make up, and then I can conform it to it. You get them for all of them, all different. They're not all, a lot of them are common, but they're not all the same. So I've got like, I don't know, 6 or 7 of them that I made. And then I can just put them on there, and then when I press it down, it'll get that contour right then and there, and we can fasten it. It's easy peasy. So, all right, well, let's get this thing ripped off of here, and we're going to let you know what we got up underneath. But that's about it I can see. It's pretty straightforward on this one. I don't see any major damage. Looks like we even still have the sticker up on there. Well, we got the decking up, and you can see it's got insulation under here, and it's got this radiant barrier on here. So that foil, the way these work, and you can look it up yourself, Solar Board and who's the other one there? LT Tech. They make sheathing with this on the back of it, and they'll tell you how it gets installed. But when you put this down, you really want to have a gap underneath here for it to work properly, and it doesn't. So it's just worthless. You know, it's ineffective. It may resist something, but you know, it's not gonna be anything like, wow, I'm glad I put that on there. You won't know the difference. So, especially with that cheap roofing, we don't need it for ours. Our roofs they're all commercial, so the reflectivity is significantly higher than you'll get off of these RV ones. So, but we may end up just cutting it and putting it back in here if it'll fit. We'll just tuck it back inside the bay or something. But then one of the other things you notice, so I almost said plywood, it's OSB, but you can see it wasn't glued down. It really should be glued down. We're going to glue ours. See the screws right there? That's a screw hole for the corner mold that came around, and they didn't screw. There's nothing in there. They just screwed it to the edge of that OSB through the end of that OSB, that chipboard. So you can kind of imagine that's really not a long-term solution for it. The other thing I don't like is these are really the wrong screws. Those are shoulder screws, and they should be a truss head screw. There's a difference in the holding power on these, so that's why they make all these different screws. If that was the case, just dish out one screw, right? But I'm not really a fan of that, but you know, get some good bolting going on here, I've seen. So, and the insulation looks pretty well so far from what I can see. We haven't gotten all the way up there, but it looks like it's packed up pretty good. We've opened up a couple other ones, and they just put like a 1.5 inch. So we'll check it out and make sure it's got good insulation up there. If not, we may add a little bit. We'll see how it fluffs in there. So now what we're going to do is take everything up, and then we check all the trunk lines. So that's the next step that we do. So I'm replacing all these screws here. You can see how they sit better and they pull down better. That's the purpose of those heads. So, and these are just turn bar screws that they used on the side, but I guess they didn't want to use them to frame it. So you can see the difference. This is let me clean this off. You can see the difference in the head. See how it's pulled down flat, and that isn't. That's where you get all your holding power. So change them all out. And then also, if just skip the ads. We don't do ads. That's a YouTube thing. We don't monetize. So just skip them. Looks like they've built this one up. So I haven't gotten down here yet to get these. I'm working my way down. My guy just told me about how they built that one up for some reason. So it's one too. Alright, so now we're going to start pulling the insulation up. And down here is the joint. And so I can't see on the other side, but you can kind of see, like right here, how this tape doesn't look totally sealed. Right there, see it? And then this other one is the same way. Right there. So that's what we're looking for. We're going to retape them, make sure they're nice and tight, put another lick around them, you know. But that's all they do is one time, see you, bye. And they're just foam. So we also want to make sure that the wires aren't digging into it and making these impressions. You can see that one there. Some of the heavier wires will do it, you know, like these bigger bundles may do it. So we're going to check all that too. Kind of missed, but even still, these screws are drill point. See the drill point? Look at the thread. So by the time that drill goes through, there's like a 30-second on each side to bite into the metal, but it's not going to do it to the wood. It's just going to strip it out, and it's not going to hold. You can do it the other way around. You can take this to secure it this way with the proper screw from wood to metal, but you can't go to the metal into the wood with a drill point. So then some of the other things we're looking at right here, see, that's a ferrule, and what it does at times, that's sharp in there. Let's see if I can get I don't know if you're going to see inside there. I'll try and zoom up, but I want to make sure it doesn't have a burr on it or a cut or anything. But we're going to put a bushing in there. So that's so you don't put a screw through here to go into that wire right here, right? That's what it's for. It's smart to have that, but now you got to protect the wire from that. So I'll show you the fix on that. I'm going to check these. They seem real tight. I don't like them that tight. They shouldn't be that tight. So now as the coach kind of moves, it has a potential to, see, they shouldn't be that tight. So when we take all this off, I'm going to see what's hanging it up. So the issue is, all these trusses are right, but this cap is too big. And they had to double this one up. Then they did a single here. And so basically it's tapering a little bit. But they got 2 layers on here. They were off, gee whiz, about an inch. You can see it bowing up right there. That's quite a bit. So right now we're taping up these ducts right here. This is for the air conditioner. This air conditioner gets mounted right from the actual air conditioner, sits on the roof, and the bolts go right through the pan. That's what that hole's for. So if you went inside, you don't have anything in there like a filter box or anything like that. That's and this is where all the air comes in. This is the return. So we're just taping everything up, and now we're just kind of looking for compromised wires and any wires like I was showing you on the ferrules. But we're looking for these ducts, make sure they're okay. So there's a bundle mess up over here, I see. There's one broke right there. And you can see that one over there doesn't look well. So this roof here, if you go back and watch it, it would have been a candidate for a spray-on or roll-on roof. How do you fix this? Now you've got cold air blowing up into a hot roof, like if you want to call this the attic area. You got cold air blowing up in here. That's not good. That's called rain. So you need to have these things fixed. That's why we take the time to open the roof up and check everything, you know, check like these wires. I don't like these wires. I don't like them sitting here like this. They're really tight. So there's plenty of room underneath. So what we're going to do is cut this. This is already broke here. So we're just going to cut it, drop those wires down, go over there, cut it, let them run underneath. And then they won't be digging into the foam. I can't reach over the other side, but they won't be digging into it. And that's a big heavy bundle. That, I don't know if that bouncing at all, just from the coach bouncing, it contributed to that or not. Excuse me. So, like I said, we're checking them out. All these here. We'll retape all that. I don't know if you can see that little burr on the sheathing. This is called a sheath. The white is a sheath. There's a tiny little burr right there. Like I said, we'll be putting protection in there. I ran out of them, so I'll have to pick them up and put them in. But we'll get them. We do them to all of them. That's the reason, again, that's why we open it up. We get that, that's a camera, and I'm just curious to know if there's any insulation we were tapping on. It sounds real hollow. So we're gonna check that out too. So, see like, see the tape right there? These are things we need to get done. We wanna do it once. We don't wanna, no one wants to tear out a roof or a ceiling to fix a truss. To fix a duct line. You don't want to do that. You know, it's either take the ceiling out or something's got to come out to fix it. So that's why you want to do all this now. These things are built really, they're built poorly. Look at this one here. So a lot of people say, hey, you know, my air conditioner's running, but I'm not getting the cold air. I don't know, something wrong with it. And then you get a tech who comes up there and goes, yeah, you need a new unit, which there's nothing wrong with the unit. You spend another $1,500 to put a unit on, and the problem's still there. And then you get discussing, you say, you know what, I just put a new unit on. What is with this here? Now it's not working. And it could be a broken duct. It's common. A lot of the ones we open up, they have some sort of duct issues. And that's why, again, that's why we do it. So let us plug along with that and get these all taped up, fix that over there, and then put those bushings in, and then we can prep up our trusses here. We got to prep them up so we can glue. Although there are certain glues that just don't like sticking to aluminum, so you have to prep them. So we may have to do that, and then we can glue the decking down and get rolling a little bit here.
All right, so we get all the duct work, we get that all squared away, and what we did was just, like I showed you, we just took all that stress off of there and brought the bundles underneath it. That's all. It's so much easier. I don't know why they always do it. It just, over years, I've found it just makes a mess of the duct work as well. So all of the wires, what we did was put these little bushings in there, little protectors. Got all those in, changed all these screws out. I changed them all out. So now we're ready to put the insulation back in. We're going to get some decking on this and hopefully get some roofing on it. So on this back end here, they put the screws through the sheathing. So what we do is put a blocker in there, because now when we put the decking on, we're not going to screw right through the end of the decking. That's not smart. So we put that on there so we can, we're going to probably end up putting a gutter on the back of this. So we need something strong to screw to. So now we already get the insulation in. Now we're ready to deck it. All right, so now we're gluing down the decking. We're gonna get it all glued down, and then we put there's screws in there. Well, we get this side glued. This is the passenger side. We've already got it glued. We've got glue on this side. You can see that sheen. That's the glue. So right now you can see like that's really yellow. We're waiting for what's called flash off, and once it does, then we can roll it over. So. Also, I was thinking that I might have forgot to tell you that we did check that front cap up there. We put that endoscope down there, and we saw insulation in there. So there was just, I don't know why it was so hollow, but there was insulation down there. So now you can see we got the shoulders on. We've got it protected here. We got protective strips on here. I don't know why I call them so much protective strips. Sometimes these trusses can get kind of wonky. I don't know if you can look at this roof here and you can see like when you start getting down there, it kind of does this. And these trusses don't always sit proper. So sometimes you may have like a piece of sheathing that may be a little proud. It's not a leak, it's not an issue, it's not a structural issue, but when you put the roofing on, you may see it. So I don't like to see it. So that's why we will sand it down, and then once we sand it down, I put these strips on it to kind of just act as like a buffer. So it doesn't look so, basically take the curse out of it, we'll put it that way. So once we get this all flashed off, we'll roll it, and then we can start assembling the roof so we can get this thing together. And we were able to get these a lot flatter. We pulled them down. I think I showed you over on the other side over there how it was kind of humping up a little bit. So we were able to get these, you know, set down. And like I said, I've got a jig that presses it and it's molded around the jig that I have that I made. And it'll copy this profile and you press it down and it's like 2 foot long. We just keep going along to get that. And it matches the profile of this roof. So I made a few of them up to do that, to make sure that they'd look clean.
So other than that, but you can see, I don't know if you can actually see, I know I can, right here. So we start walking down, and right about here you can start seeing the roof graduate up because of the cap. Remember I showed you the filler boards they put in there? So it's got this slight slope coming up there. There's nothing I can do about that. The cap was made wrong. And a lot of times the radius on that cap isn't the same as the one in the back. I've noticed that on quite a few coaches. Now I don't know if they've got the same vendor that makes that back cap and that makes the front cap, but they all need to kind of get together or double check it. But you know, when I say the radius, I talk about right here, you know, up on that one, it's not the same. So the other than that, like you said, waiting for it, we'll roll it over and we'll get so this is skylight. A lot of times on these skylights, you have the skylight sitting up on here. There's an inner skylight, and you got this exterior skylight. What happens is, especially now being as cold as it is, you'll get some dew, frost on the top. But it's also on the inside that dew and frost is. So now the sun comes up, evaporates the top side, evaporates it off. And once that's evaporated off, then the inside, it can't evaporate. So what happens is it diffuses and basically turns to condensation and drools down. And it can get into a roof deck. And in this case, it could get into a curb. And we don't want that. We don't want water in anywhere. So what we did is, over here, we've got a channel running right in here. There's a piece of ductwork in there. There's a piece of ductwork in here. And we're going to put an intake right here. And then over here is going to be, get this out of your way, we're going to put another, we've got another curb we're going to put here. Right here. Put our other curb on there. Once we get our other curb on there, we're going to put a solar fan. So now when the sun comes up and evaporates what's up on here, then the solar fan will kick on. When the solar fan kicks on, it draws air from there, draws it through up, goes through, and exhausts out, and it stays on. You don't have to monitor it. It's solar. So the other thing we did, you see we cladded everything with aluminum. Skylights are known to leak, and they're known to leak because they may crack. So that being said, I want to make sure that if it did crack, it probably will. I mean, they're just, I don't make the material, but it happens. I want to make sure it doesn't get into the actual roof. So we cladded everything with aluminum all the way around here, then we caulked it. And then what this is, and the reason why it's so heavy, it's probably wet right now, is we'll say the crack was up here, and then it started leaking in. I don't want it to get in those holes, so it'll hit here and drool down. The same with this other one. If there was a crack in the skylight around this area and it's coming down, I don't want it to leak in there. So that's why we put this bit here. This is just kind of like a gutter. So now it's going to leak down, and this piece, by the way, returns back into the ceiling right here. It returns back into the ceiling. So what the customer may see is some leaks coming from it. If they have a cracked lens, they'll see some leaks. So then that's an indicator right off the rip. Got a cracked skylight. But they don't have to worry about anything else getting rotted. Get up there and change it, or if they want to bring it out back to us, we'll change it out for them. But that's the whole principle to the exhaust fan and the intake, to keep that air moving in. Once you get moisture in there, it can't dry out because there's no air. It's just, you got the inner lens, the outer lens, there's no air in there. So it could turn to dry rot. So on your typical RVs, when it's sitting on the roof deck, what happens is it'll start rotting out. We'll say this is the flange of the skylight. It'll start, and it's all screwed down. It'll start rotting all that out, and then people go back with more self-leveling, think it's going to cure it, but there's nothing to hold the lens down because it's all rotted. So they keep going around and around. That's the problem, and they'll find out that they'll have delamination or rotted wood in there eventually. And so we're omitting all those problems. And that's what we do when coaches come in. I want to address everything. I just don't want to take it for granted. Hey, we got this, but we didn't get that. You know, let's get it all 100% so you don't have any issues. So you can see we rolled the roofing over the edge. We got our insert trim in here. All these screws in here. Let me see if I can pop this out for you. All these screws are all sealed. Every single one of them is all sealed. That's important. We seal every single screw. And then this has a little track in it, and that sits inside and outside. So this is what's known as a water adhesion principle. And what that is some women may notice when they do dishes, maybe some guys, when you're doing dishes and your wrists are actually lower than your elbow, but you can feel water going back up to your elbow. That's a water adhesion principle. So what's going to happen is when the water comes off of here, it's going to kind of bond to this and go into the gutter, kind of roll around. Obviously, if it was really heavy, you're going to get splash off, but You know, your average drain would probably just, you know, hold on to here and then it'll get in. But I like this better than the other because it can't get in that track. If it gets in that track, then you get dirt and moisture and, you know, moss. There's a whole bunch of junk. We've opened them up before and you just have all sorts of gook in there. Some mildew and everything else. So what we're going to do now, this is glued on, this gutter is glued on, and what we're going to do now, we got to prep all this. Once we prep it, we'll put one strike on. When that strike cures out, then we're going to put a second strike on. So we get 2 strikes going on top of here. So everything else is all welded, and all of this is what it is all heat welded right in here. This is what it is. There's no need for self-leveling, nothing. So we haven't welded this yet because we got to get back up on the roof, but you can see that there. We'll go back around, and that's it. There's nothing. There's no self-leveling. It's done. This is the way you do a real roof, and this is why a lot of these roofs leak, because they're just not done right. The RV industry misleads people into thinking all you got to do is just squash down, you know, a skylight, put the screws around it, and then slobber it with self-leveling. That's not how you do a roof. So, and again, that's why they all leak. The principle with a spray-on or roll-on, they don't address a lot of these issues. So they may be cheaper than us by far. Well, I wouldn't say by far, probably a third anyways, I would guess. But they don't address everything we do. They're not opening the roof up like we did. They'll look at the roof deck and they'll go, okay, it looks pretty good. Boom, just put it on. But, you know, again, you see we had some ductwork that was breached. You saw that we had some compromised wires. These are the things we look for on here, you know. All right, well, let us finish this up.
Well, we're done with our Cedar Creek. She's ready to go. I want to thank the customer for bringing it in. We appreciate the work. We take the time to do things right because folks travel a long ways to have us do these roofs. And if they want local crappy work, they can get that without all the travel, right? So one of the things you may notice right off the rip right here is we've got a gutter on the back so that water doesn't just run down into the wall and the lights and so forth. So we got, like I said, got the gutter on there. We put this stamp on here, and the purpose for that is, one, we can see how old the roof is. We can monitor it as it's coming in for inspections. Also, if he were to sell the coach, he can say, hey, I just had that put on January 25. You know, it's still under warranty. So everything we do here, we manufacture everything, but we don't sell anything. So I don't sell any of the boots, I don't sell any of the curves, and so on and so forth. So, but the roof system itself, this is what's called a 60 mil, that's how thick it is. 60 mil TPO means thermoplastic, which allows us to weld everything together. So all of this is all welded. There's no need for self-leveling. There's no place for it. All the curbs, they're all welded. And you can see, like, we got these boots right here because this type of air conditioner gets mounted right to the roof, meaning the bolts come right through the base of the air conditioner. So we've got studs that come up through the roof. Those are boots, just like these are boots. And they're all sealed with a commercial grade sealer. And it always stays flexible. Always stays flexible. We just put these on the back just to give it some balance. So we got everything is all heat welded in here. Like I said, the all the curbs for like the vents and even the air conditioner, they have a little what's known as a counter flash. So just this portion down here that's welded on the roof, that's flashing, and then there's another part, little flange that sticks out. That's called counter flash. And there's different types of counter flash, but that's the one that I built into these. So all of them have it, even the air conditioner. Now on some of the other ones you may notice, we had put some metal. That's a counter flash as well. And we would put it in the front, but the way this is designed, this one and the one up there, I'll show you in a second. The way these are, this plastic molded piece has basically corrugations in it. So when the water comes down, it can't keep flowing back into that foam gasket. And that's my concern. That's why I usually put them on. So, and then if this is your first one and you watch the next one, you may go, hey, he doesn't have it on that one. We didn't need them on there. And it was real awkward to get them on there. So we just omitted them. So we got the shower lens in here. We already showed you that, and I explained the whole idea of the solar fan, and that's the intake. So air comes in when the sun comes up, evaporates us off, solar fan kicks on right here, like I explained, and it keeps pulling this cycle of air through there to keep that moisture out of there. So, and you can see we got the same curb over here.
if the plumbing, if that plumbing cap fell off, that's not a big deal because it'll go right down into the holding tank. We made a special base for the antenna as well. And then on this one, again, we had to do the same thing where we had to put the bolts. You can see the bolt going right up through there. It's all galvanized. And then in this one here, but you can see we've got a piece of metal on here because there's the way this got mounted, the bolt holes were right up front. We couldn't get them around our curb. So we put these ones out and they're bolted up underneath this frame, this metal track here, this metal rail. So now when the water comes down, it still can't get back up underneath there. So that's why we didn't have to put another counter flash on that. So other than that, we've got 2 strikes of caulking all over everything. We always put 2 strikes on here. When we glue these on, we don't use butyl. Once we put these on, then, meaning the gutters, once we get the gutters on, we put our first strike on there. When we put our first strike, then that cures and we put another strike. So, and the reason I do that is if you've ever operated a caulking gun, you would hear the tube maybe pop or crackle. You just injected an air bubble. So now as these coats, they generally rack, twist, flex a bit. If that air bubble breaches, then the issue we may have is a possible leak. What are the chances of having one air bubble land on another? And it's not the, it doesn't matter the quality of this. Is obviously a commercial grade quality. Everything we use is commercial. But even if it doesn't matter the grade, it all gets dispensed into the cartridge the same way. So, you know, and there can get air in there. So and then every one of these screws, I think I already showed this. I'm going to see if I pop this out here. This is an insert trim. And you can see that little groove. That goes up inside the track, so it's in and outside the track. That's why I like this. But every single screw is all sealed. Every single screw is all sealed. And that's important. We want every one of them sealed, and then this slides in. The black that we use is a lot harder for some reason. But anyhow, so that's the caulking and the membrane itself. This is a 20-year roof system. That's what it's designed for on a commercial building. So they say on a commercial building being subjected to all the elements day after day, heat, sun, everything, that this you should yield at least 20 years out of this membrane. Coaches don't only see that, so I'm sure you're going to get more, maybe 25-ish out of this thing, maybe even more than that, depending on how much sun, right? Because that's usually what's doing the damage is the sun. So all that said, the maintenance on this is real easy. Just wash it with soap and water. The warranty that we extend, bring it in every year. We inspect it. If there's anything wrong, we take care of it. It's plain and simple. You know, if something were to happen that was our fault, then if we had to, then we would take the roof up and we'd make the repairs accordingly. There's nobody else who does that, so we would do that. We have no problem with that. But we do like to see it every year for that. So if somebody else wants to, you know, we show folks how to do their own inspection. And if they want to, sure. But if they miss something and that could have been fixed, and then that turns into a hot mess, well, that's kind of not fair because we didn't have the opportunity to get it. So we know what we're looking for and we do it. We encourage everybody to come back for their inspections. They're absolutely free. You just call up and say, hey, I'd like to get my inspection. We want to do them once a year. Can I come in and have you inspect it? It's that simple. Usually it takes about 20, maybe 30 minutes. It's real simple. Well, these roofs are designed for people who don't even want to get on their roof. They don't want to mess with their roof. They don't want nothing to do with their roof. They just want to take their camper and they want to go camping. That's the way these roofs are designed. All that said, the air conditioners, the vents, all these vents, skylights, if a person really wanted to, they could do it themselves. They don't necessarily have to go here. There's no trick or something that either a person or a tech couldn't figure out to do properly. Or put it this way, they shouldn't. There's no difference in putting in that vent on that curb than it would be if there was no curb. There's no difference in putting on the air conditioner on that curb than if there wasn't, besides, you know, obviously lining up the bolt holes and things like that. Same with the skylight. So that's how easy it is. Then on the other side, over here, I know there was a satellite wire. So that satellite wire that is right here in the middle of the A. You could drill in there if someone ever wanted to put satellite in there. And then there was solar up here that we put. So we put a solar tag up there. And we don't want people just start putting solar on these things. In order to put solar, we need to have boots on these. You can't just take a solar panel, put it down with the bracket and try to slobber some glue under it or some die-core or whatever. It's going to be a leak. So if somebody wants to put solar, just let us know. We'll make up some other bolts for it and we'll get it back together. And this is the curb for the antenna. So otherwise, it's pretty much ready to go. She's ready to rock and roll. So this is a reinforced membrane. So here's all our information right here. And these are the three colors. We've got the tan, the gray, the white. And let's see if you can notice it on this one. Some are more prominent than others, meaning the weave. This is probably a better, there's actually a piece of it. But you can see all those little squares. That's a mesh that's built into it, which helps resist against hail and tree branches. And you can actually see it right here, right in there. And that helps resist against tree branches. And this is literally a commercial grade product. This is the same exact product you're going to see on a library, an office building, a a shopping plaza, a restaurant. Same exact material. I go to the same warehouse and get it. And we buy it in bulk, big rolls. All the caulking, everything, all the adhesive, it's all commercial. We do not do, there's nothing on this coach that is RV grade. The only thing RV about it would be obviously the antenna, the skylight, and the components that go to it. But in regards to the materials we use, all commercial, every bit of it. So other than that, I think I covered everything. And we appreciate the customer bringing this in. And, we'll see you on the next one, I guess. Also, we don't quote on social media. So you can reach out to us if you like, if you need a quote. And also they're not really intended as a DIY. Hopefully you can pick up some tips, but if it was a DIY, these videos get pretty long anyways. And, since we put them up on YouTube, I know those commercials can get pretty lengthy, so I'm trying to do the best I can to cut them down, but, we don't even monetize them. So that's something that YouTube is doing on us. We don't monetize. We post these so the customer can see all the work that we did. That's the purpose of these videos, so they can see exactly what we did, what we found, how we fixed it, what we did, and so on and so forth. So all that said, we don't monetize. We're not YouTube contenters. That's why there's no jazzy intro. I don't have all these cameras set up to do this and that. I walk around with this little camcorder and I just show you what's going on. Just easy peasy. But we appreciate you watching. And again, if you have any questions, just reach out to us. And we'll be glad to help you with your project if you got one. And again, I thank the customer for coming to us. We appreciate that as well. Right. So in our care package, we have caulking, we got primer, we have got 2 patches. Those are heat patches. We got a patch peel and stick pack. We got a checker tool. We've got a magnet. And the rest of this is just pens, keychains, brush, nozzle. Okay, so if we have a hole in the roof, it will simulate a hole. You can do hole simulations. We say we got a hole there. Here's your tree branch come through and you're like, oh man, I got a hole in my roof, it's leaking. So what you want to do, and it's raining out. Right now it's raining, you're like, crap, I gotta stop that leak. You want to get in there, and if you can't get that nozzle in there, don't worry about it. Make it a little bigger. What you try and do, you need to get up underneath the roofing, like this. This is what we need to do, get up underneath the roofing. Then you're going to take and you're going to put this up inside there, and you're going to squeeze, 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 squeeze. Hopefully this thing is plugged up. There it goes. Just squeeze, squeeze. You want to try and get up underneath this part too. Squeeze up underneath there. Put some more underneath there. Well, we are getting this thing all boogered up. Then what we're going to do, you're going to push it together. See how it oozes out? That's sealed. You're done. This is a moisture cured product. So what? It's a hot mess. Looks terrible. Who cares? Keep the water out. So now, the next day, we're going to go up there, and that's going to be cured looking like that. So we're going to take a knife, and you just shave it down. Just shave it down with a knife. I'm just going to obviously wipe this off. Now you say, hey, I want something a little better than that. So what we're going to do is get some cleaner. This is a terrible rag. We get another one. You got one on you? No. Oh, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag. Hey, what are you doing? What are you gonna talk about, man? No, just leave it alone. Oh. Leave it alone right now. We're recording now? Are we on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, so now we cleaned it off with a knife. I just washed that off because it's still wet. Take that off. So now we got a patch. This is a peel and stick patch. We're going to take that, we're going to center it over there. Just take a pen and go around like this. I like to kind of put a dash like that so I know who's where, what, and where, and how. So now there's what I got. So in the package we got primer. We also have a brush. You're going to take that, you're going to go all inside the square. You're also going to go outside this square about 3/8 of an inch. Outside about 3/8 of an inch or so. Once you get that, there's a film on the back. You peel the film, now you know which side you are, see, because there's your marks. And you peel that film back. Get my fingers in there to get the film off of this thing. This is just a regular roof tape. That's all it is. We put them in all the care packages. Get that daggone thing off of there. Probably need some fingernails. Probably help. Come on. There it is. Okay. There it is. Now you got the film. You take that film. So now we're going to line it back up with this. We already got the primer under there. You just peel the film back, and as you do, you just rub it down like this. Sometimes that film will get a little stuck in there. This is just a butyl. You just kind of try to keep it as even as you can and flat as you can. Boom, you're done. There it is. So now, out here, this is where your primer is. You put the primer on there. You got primer there, and now you're going to put primer here. You want to prime all this area with your brush. Prime all that. Then you're going to come back. Once you get it all primed, then you're going to put a little bit of caulking on it, just like this. That's simple. If it doesn't all sit in there, you can always take your finger and go around it if you want. We're trying to obviously stop a leak and make one of. There's going to be a little more permanent of a patch than just that plug that we did when it was raining. So now that we get that all done, what the whole purpose of it is this part here. This part underneath here, that's a butyl. When the sun hits that, if you didn't have the caulking on there, it will cause it to release and curl up just like I'm doing here. And it'll start coming loose. That's why you need the primer. That's why when you prime it, you're going to prime on top of this because nothing will stick to it. Nothing, the caulking will not stick to this patch and it won't stick to the roof unless you use the primer. That's how you do a patch. Ta-da! All done.